Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 USHCC Legislative Summit Restaurant Revitalization Roundtable. On this event, you'll hear from restaurant owners and business leaders from around the country. They will discuss the challenges and opportunities that the restaurant industry faced during COVID-19, as well as the road towards revitalization. I'll start by introducing our moderator for the day. She is the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce board member, Jennifer Rodriguez. Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Santiago. I am super excited to be here, and Lily Rocha, in one of the panelists, knows how important it is. We know that Latinos are the backbone of the restaurant and food industry, the hospitality industry, on the labor force. But we often do not celebrate the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the trailblazers out there, and there are many. So today, we're going to be talking about this very, very most important sector of our economy, the restaurant and hospitality industry, focusing on restaurant entrepreneurs, celebrating them, celebrating their journey, their achievements, and really learning a little bit. There are many in the audience are probably very curious about what are other Latino Hispanic entrepreneurs doing in this space around the country. So today we have a packed panel here, and we have Lily Rocha, who is the president of the Latino Restaurant Association, which promotes, supports, and educates restaurant owners and small business owners to ensure the growth of Latino restaurants in this sector in the country. We also have Alejandra Chavez of Time Matters. When she began this as a catering business, it has grown to a fantastic business with a restaurant that seats over 140 individuals in El Paso, Texas. We also have Lorena Cantarovici. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. She's a founder and CEO of Maria's Empanadas, an Argentinian immigrant who started a home business that has grown into a major enterprise in Colorado. We also have Roberto Martinez of the Braven Agency. He is a Latino entrepreneur with a mission to help small businesses through technology, and he has done incredible work with restaurants during the pandemic. And we have Omar Alvarez, the founder and CEO of TPQ Foods in Phoenix, Arizona. And again, known for the Mexican delights, famous for their tortas, has grown to 7 locations in Phoenix. And the USHCC will be in our annual convention in Phoenix. So I think we all will have an opportunity to have the tasty treats that he has created. So without further ado, we are really here to talk about the restaurant industry, the recovery, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But why don't we start with setting up a little bit of the stage here with Lily Rocha. Lily, can you tell us a little bit, any facts, anything that to set the stage as it relates to Latinos in the restaurant industry?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation to speak on this amazing panel with all these awesome people that I get to see today and this week. As we know that the restaurant industry as a whole was completely, taken a big hit, but with Latinos, it was actually compounded. Because we're owners of restaurants and also the labor force of restaurants. So we all heard of a lot of the things that have happened during the pandemic. With us, the Latino community, we found some unique situations, like, for example, a lot of restaurant owners did not have great relationships with their banks. As Robert will tell you in a moment, technology, we weren't utilizing our technology. And then during pandemic, when you needed the technology, we weren't able to ramp up quickly. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But there are some unique situations like that. It continues with the Latino restaurant owners to this day. So we at the Latino Restaurant Association absolutely try to help and have resources. And thank God for people like you, Jennifer, across the land that we can rely on, as well as an amazing partner. So thank you for being there. Really appreciate your support of the LRA since we met a few years ago. So anyways, that's kind of setting the stage to some of your other speakers. Thank you.
Sure. So you talked about technology. I think one of the things we know from my experience or from many of the chamber experiences is that many of our Latino businesses, particularly in the restaurant industry, were not quite ready to engage in e-commerce in the popular delivery platforms. And so Roberto stepped in and he really focused on helping these Latino businesses survive. So Roberto, can you tell us about how technology became critical in helping Latino businesses pivot out of the pandemic?
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me here. Santiago and USHCC, thank you so much for having me here. Very excited to be here with such a distinguished panel of individuals who have the mission to help our restaurant business. So during the pandemic, what we realized is that there was a downward pressure for human beings to stop conjugating together. And where do we love conjugating as Latinos? We love going, having amazing time at locations like Times Matter, where we convey and convene with our family and friends. Pandemic came, changed the way we interact with those restaurants. And what we saw Latinos were seldom able to leverage the digital tools that the general market already had at their disposal. They were seldom able to leverage simple digital tools like websites, business listings, third-party delivery apps to really scale their businesses and be able to shelter themselves against something that demanded them to be online. And as a result of that, what we saw is a vital hit within our community of them not being able to service that community that they typically serve because they no longer could attend to join them at the restaurants. What we did on our side through the city of Los Angeles and later on the county of Los Angeles is we were able to create programming to help these businesses get online, immediately provide them online services like websites that allowed them to be able to sell instantly. And we also created a relationship with third-party delivery apps that waived the fee. As you all know, very expensive endeavor to use third-party apps. I'm not gonna throw any organizations or companies under the bus, but very expensive endeavor. They knew they had an opportunity to really hone in and take some of those margins away from the restaurants. And we all know that restaurants run on margins. And so what the city came and the mayor of our city came and said, we're going to put a memorandum on those third-party delivery apps. We're going to make sure that it's free for the first 6 months. We did not know how long that pandemic was going to last, so we extended it out to a year. And during that year, we were able to create those digital tools that allow those businesses to be able to sell online and provide delivery to their customers. So that's a quick and dirty of what we were able to do within the first 3 to 6 months of the pandemic. Post-pandemic, we're very excited about what we call tech stacks that allow businesses like Alejandra's to scale from 5 to 10 to 15, but we'll touch on that later if we have enough time.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that the audience should be aware of is the role that chambers played in advocating for the policy changes. I know that certainly in Philadelphia, I did so. I know that Lily, you were very involved in the USHCC in getting the resources to bear on our community. So oftentimes we don't see it up front. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So really thank you to all the advocates out there to make these things happen. So Alejandra, Lorena, Omar, I imagine that that the pandemic came and the access to resources, to capital became really critical. I know, Alejandra, we had a conversation around how you went about accessing the resources. And so I think the conversation really is about the role of having a very strong network of people that can make things or challenges disappear, right? Or overcome them. So Alejandra, can you tell us a little bit about your experience accessing relief funds?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me on this panel. Thank you to the USHCC. It's a pleasure to be here. And hello to everybody who's joining us today. So access to capital and, just to funds in general to keep the business afloat was essential, especially for my business. The margins are small, like Roberto just mentioned, in the restaurant industry. And many people in this industry just don't have the cash flow to stay afloat because the expenses are high. Payroll, most of us have quite a few number of employees working for us, and just our overhead in general. Plus, not to mention that we are in the food industry. So when the pandemic hit and we were forced to shut down, or there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of our product went to waste, and so we had to rebuild it, right? And we had to buy a lot of our things, and so it just became a big expense to be in this industry. The relationship with the Hispanic Chamber was tremendous. And also, getting the right funding to stay afloat through the right banks. And so it's this idea of your access to people, which is what we call nowadays your social capital. Who is going to be in your network that's going to help you not only stay afloat, but really stay successful, because all of us are in business to be successful. And, that is our mission here and the U.S. Hispanics Chamber mission, to keep the Latino community alive and vibrant. And so I am very grateful to the Chamber and to many others who were a part of that social capital, I call, that helped me do it.
So Lorena or Omar, how did you overcome? Were you successful in accessing relief funds such as the famous PPP loan or the revitalization grant or any sources? Were you successful in doing that? And were you helped by a technical assistance provider or some other entity or influencer that supported you throughout? So I see Lorena nodding her head. Lorena.
I would love to jump on this. First of all, just remembering all this, it brings my goosebumps in my body because I feel like already past it. But it's always good to remember because that makes you stronger. So appreciate and thank you. And I know that I am in part of a panel that everybody is so strong and is here now sharing the opportunities. So we, of course, in front of this ocean of bad or mala onda, bad energies and mala onda, we immediately start to put some cures on some band-aids in some areas, right? I mean, we didn't have technology. I was not ready at all for technology. So Roberto, I can't believe I met you before. But then we were bleeding terribly in things. So the desperation came up to all of us. But something that we did is trying to observe outside and seeing that everybody was having the same situation. And the most impact moment for me is to go for help to my restaurant association, to Hispanic chambers, and then you can hear that everybody was in the same way. For us, I do have a venture capital, so they mostly support you with funds, of course, but it was incredible the support that I did have from them. They gave me mentorship, they gave me support, they told me don't lose the vision, continue thinking, let's go and apply in technology. That is going to be a thing. So we did a change in a month about it has to do with technology. Then we start preparing our CFO, making sure that my CFO was trying to understand every program, connecting with the Small Business Association, with the Small Business Administration, and also with the branches that they have, letting them know for our location that we were needing capital to survive, and immediately getting assistance with my venture capital. We were able to get more information and getting inside of all the programs that after that they assist us with financial. So for us, it's nothing that is different than in the industry. We needed to run and act and make things happen, and we are used to that. So that's exactly what we did. We went to support from mentors. I was calling my 911 mentor who said, what do I do? How do I keep myself healthy to continue keeping healthy my business?
Absolutely. And so before we go to Lily, I want to talk, because I think celebrating Latino business owners is really what we're all about here at the summit. And so I'm really interested in your journey, Omar, because we're going to be visiting you soon. So let's learn as much as we can about you. How, it looks like you are incredibly successful. How did you weather the storm? And I'm looking to learn a little bit about, again, everybody has a different path. What was yours?
I think that the little success we had during the pandemic is, or post-pandemic, the first 3 or 4 months were very rough, but we were open, we never closed, and that helped us out with the biggest challenge that I think everybody's going through in the industry, which is manpower. That that is probably the biggest challenge for anybody that I know. Manpower is just very, very tough right now. And not closing and keeping our employees and weathering it was crucial. Obviously, we couldn't have done it with the help of all these programs, EIDL and ERC or any other program, the PPP. But it's just just knowing that you have that support allows you to focus and operate and really do what you can do best, and you can only control what you have, and that's what we did.
And so was your business already technology ready, or did you have to adapt in the way that Lorena had to adapt technology-wise?
Yeah, I think we had the platforms. We did have the platforms set up, especially for all these delivery companies, and then the POS systems and inventory systems and everything that helps you operate more efficient. We had those platforms in place, which truly helped us out. And then another side is we have a very strong relationship with a bank here in town, which is a game changer, because we had an immediate access and truly just a call away to get help and try to get some of the funds. So just getting the funds overall is by far and for sure just a peace of mind, and it allows you to operate and do what you can do or what you do better.
And so one of the things that we hear about, and there's the Kauffman Foundation, a speaker at one of their panels, a conference once said that entrepreneurship is a community sport, right? And so I have adapted that, and I say that entrepreneurship and business ownership is not a do-it-yourself venture, it's a community venture. It's about building an ecosystem around you. I've heard, Lorena, you said you have venture capital, you had mentors. Omar, you said you had a bank that you knew well. So really, who's building this ecosystem for you in many ways? Lily Rocha, you are the Latino Restaurant Association. Can you tell us a bit about how are you helping businesses in the food and restaurant industry?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So prior to me joining LRA, that was founded in 2018, I was the president of the Latino Food Industry Association. I'm still on their board. So prior to the pandemic, we said, hey, we're gonna, Lily, myself, and a few other restaurant folks are gonna really provide resources for restaurants. So we took a survey of what some of the needs were. We did a survey about 100 restaurants in California, and we got the top 6 needs, right? And so again, prior to the pandemic, these were the 6 needs, like marketing, sales, things like that. Then the pandemic hit, and my gosh, those changed to some of the things that we're talking about now. So we immediately, the first thing we did was, because we were dealing with COVID, and I have a close relationship with the medical area as well. We were sending food to the healthcare workers. Like, we were one of the first to do it. Everybody started doing it, but we were one of the first to do it, and we were utilizing Latino restaurants. So we received funds from Walmart Foundation, SoCal Gas, just some other generous donors, and we were able to really put a lot of money out there. But then, of course, the pandemic hit. We started making sure that people had access to their bankers, different banks, technology. We brought in technology folks, and we do sometimes talk about, hey, the third-party apps take away, all this money. But I will say that during the pandemic, that is the reason that a lot of companies survive, because, I don't think it was the intention of third-party apps to just be like, hey, let's take advantage of the situation. That was all that was available. So really, it kind of just, snowballed into something else. But because of what was available through them already, a delivery. A lot of our restaurants were able to survive on the delivery of that technology. So we continue to this day to make sure that we have those resources. So everything from helping restaurants promote, teaching our boot camp that we have, it's free for anyone who's a member. And if you're not a member, you can become a member for free if you don't have the funds. But it's something that we're part of our programming, our portfolio of resources. We provide, we work closely with Roberto. He's also across the country providing digital services, technology platforms, education to our folks. And all of this is available digitally, so through Zoom, so people can have access anywhere. We continue to build upon our relationships in the legislature, of course, advocating for like alfresco dining, alcohol to go, and anything else that brings revenue to our restaurants. So I'm here in DC, I go to Sacramento, different state capitals. So we're really advocating on behalf of Latino restaurants, anything that restaurants need to keep their sales going, to keep, vitality, to be successful. We're trying our best to be that resource.
And so it's important that you as an entrepreneur have an advocate. You are, by and large, you're very busy. And advocacy and policy is not really what you entered entrepreneurship. You entered because you have a passion for the product or the service that you're an expert in, and talking to politicians and saying you need to change the laws is really not what you do. That's what Lily Rocha, that's what I'm here for. That's what the USHCC is here for. But one of the challenges that we have in the Latino community is that our businesses tend to start smaller in size and remain smaller even as they mature. And Roberto, before I get to you, I'm gonna get to Alejandra, because one of the things that we think is a great opportunity, not for everybody, not everybody has the same vision, but for entrepreneurs who really wanna grow and scale, is entering the supply chain, right? Or developing new business models, or diversifying their portfolio. And so whether it is catering for corporate, or becoming the caterer for venues, or developing a recipe, a product that you manufacture and sell, or your concept that becomes a franchise, or you multiply and replicate your operation over many locations. I know, Alejandra, catering is something that you do. Can you tell us a little bit about, your business to business? What is it that you do? How do you go about it?
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. So we started off doing catering, and then I'm a full service dining restaurant right now. And so when the pandemic hit and my sales dropped significantly, I thought, what is the best way for me to increase my revenue? And so what I did was to get into government contracting. I received all of my certifications with the help of the local chamber. And there are different certifications. There are some that are government, there are others that are state, and then there are others that are corporate. And, everybody should decide, based in their area, what's most convenient for them. But in my case, I applied for all of them. And that is exactly what I'm doing now with this idea of ghost kitchens, or, even just to set up a commercial sized kitchen. I think that this is the best way for me to grow my business and increase my revenue and securely think of my revenue streams. So that's where I'm heading, right now. And there is a lot of opportunity in that realm. And I think there's a lot of opportunity all over the country for it. And I would highly, highly recommend that you contact your chamber or somebody, a mentor or a coach that could help you do it.
And I think that's very important. What we know is that the folks in universities, university dining halls, in corporate, they want variety. American taste buds have become much more complex, and people are looking for really interesting food. And so just Caesar salad is not going to cut it at the corporate lunch anymore, right?
And not only that, sorry to interrupt you, not only that, Jennifer, but there's also a certain percentage of contracts that should be awarded to minority-owned businesses and also women-owned businesses. And so there's a lot of opportunity, especially for someone like me, that's both minority and women-owned, to receive those certifications. And so, any place where there's an advantage, I think that we should take it.
Absolutely, because that's what business is about, right? So yes, you are absolutely right. Many cities, many businesses, many corporations do have certain goals for participation of disadvantaged and minority firms. And so if but you have to become certified. And so the chamber in your community can definitely help you do that. I'm sure if you reach out to Lily and the Restaurant Association, they'll do that. And Roberto, you have been nodding and nodding and nodding, and I know that you want to say something here.
But Jennifer, thank you so much for allowing me. So what's really beautiful here is that you have an amazing example of different case studies that happened during the pandemic. And really no one size fits all. So really what you see here is a division of the different types of survival strategies restaurants went through to make sure they're still sustainable. And I think what this allows us for is coming together as a group and realizing how can we make sure we get through this post-pandemic and allow our businesses to scale by leveraging organizations like LRA and USHCC to bring our best knowledge and our experience to bear, create programming around that, and help small businesses who are restaurant owners learn from our, I wouldn't call them mistakes, but how we adapted within the pandemic. So you see a lot of different things going on here. You see Omar already had an operational system set up, in essence, a ghost kitchen by any other name, and realized, wow, we can really take advantage of this and scale that, because what ended up happening in his market is he already had the infrastructure readily available. Everyone moved online. He's able to capture that slack in the marketplace. You see Alejandra realizing, hey, I need to diversify my revenue streams. How do I diversify those revenue streams? Getting certified, looking for other third-party contracts within government and non-governmental vendors at airports, whatever that happens to see. And then you see Lorena realizing, well, now I need to start shipping my product. And so these are different solutions to the same problem, which is how do we remain viable and active within the restaurant industry? And how can we come together and leverage the tactical piece, which is the technology? But really, all these amazing thinkers are telling us this is how we went through it. How amazing would it be if we get together as a community, right? You say our social capital and say, this is the program that we're going to create and give to the nation for our Latino entrepreneurs, our business owners, to know how to get through this type of event and use it as the best case scenario so that they can scale and grow their companies, and then use the type of technologies that we have to accelerate that growth. That's what's really exciting. So Lorena, I see you nodding your head. Love for you to.
Yes. And I want to participate in this. Thank you so much. But in all this, we need access to capital. So that's another thing that Lorena needs. And I'm sure that probably everybody else does. Capital is something that we're going to use all the time. If we want to grow or we don't want to grow. Maria Empanada wants to grow. So let me read to you a very small statistic that has to do with venture capital. A small slice of 2.6% of venture dollars went to minorities and 2.2% went to women. So it is a very little portion of the pie that goes to companies, went to women and minorities. So there's no equal right there, right? There's a number that is not right. But we need, so this is something that we, with COVID and all this stress and all these needs, we need to make aware that we need to continue making efforts to receive capital for growth, because we are companies that are ready. We just pass for this, or will come another very good ideas, and we can make things happen because we are the motor of the economy. So it's important to receive support and access to capital in the easiest way.
And Lorena, I have a follow-up question for you, and then I want Omar to comment. You have access venture capital. You're one of the very few, right? One of that little percent.
I'm in that elite group. I didn't know.
So what has, because I think we talk to businesses that we think have the potential to really grow to that kind of scale where venture capital with infusions of equity dollars become very important. And we hear a little bit, I'm not sure, I lose control of my business. Can you tell us about what has accessing venture capital done for you as an entrepreneur?
Well, it did help me to grow, to get unstable and to continue looking for capital. Now I am in the process of raising once again capital. So basically what I did all this time is creating relationships. Once again, in the most drastic moment of the life of my company, I didn't only receive from this group just the support in them with the money itself that I did also, but also all the other type of support, the connections, the mentoring, the legal part, all the assistance to apply to every single program. So it's not only about the money what you need that and everything that it comes around. You are opening a small business, and a small business, even if it's a restaurant, is not for your friends, it's to make business. So this is a company, and it's going to continue growing. I mean, if you want to longevity, or if you want more quantity of locations, or whatever your strategy of expansion it is, you are going to need capital. So I think the most valuable part here is the connection and trying to be out. Don't be inside of your restaurant. That's very usual for a small business. We get stuck in where we are. You need to go out. You need to go and make connections.
And so, Omar, I am interested in your growth trajectory. Having one restaurant is difficult enough. Growing it to multiple locations, I am sure, comes with its stresses and this points, critical decision-making points. For those in the audience that are interested in taking their venture and expanding it, what can you tell us about your trajectory and what can we learn from it?
Yes, well, let me just touch on Lorena, venture capital, and I have no venture capital, but I think the best that you can do for your business and in general for your life is get out there and get in different relationships and different circles. There's multiple groups out there, like EO, YPO. There's plenty of networks out there that support you in different ways, through forums or through relationships where you could actually access capital. Now, for me, it's been really critical to have a bank that I can always go to and not have to go through all the circles of the big corporate banks, and just make a phone call and have access to capital. And for growth, obviously, just a strategy. My strategy is not to grow with external capital, but internal, and grow very organically, and just pace myself based on what we can do, and obviously without getting ahead of things and not losing control. Mainly operating, but the relationships, no doubt. You said something very important, Lorena, is never stay, continue educating yourself, continue expanding yourself. Look at not only what's happening around your community, what's happening in the world, because everything impacts you, and you have to obviously make moves towards the direction where the industry and the world is moving. So don't lock yourself up in a restaurant. Because when I had one location, I made sure that the margins were incredibly amazing, and then you have to start letting go, and have sharing the pie. But that's how you start scaling, and you have to understand that you have to share, and you have to communicate, and you have to grow your network, because I think that's the main goal, or my main, and the little success we've had is really based on the networking that we have throughout the community here. And obviously the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has been a huge help, but just networking outside also our close people and outside our own Hispanic community is crucial, because that's how you get out and really have more reach.
And so I'm interested in that, in turning the first restaurant into the second restaurant, right? I think they're just moments in which things like sort of turning points. Can you tell us about that experience? And then I'll go to Alejandra. I have a question for her.
Yes. Well, the first and second were very easy for me because I was super young and I wasn't thinking. I was just going, I said, hey, this is doing well. Let's open a second one. And then a third one and fourth and so forth, but then you really start getting into a strategy to how to grow and very healthy and have a very healthy growth, and that diversifying too, because we have multiple concepts. We started one, we opened 4 locations, and we kept opening that concept, but then we started diversifying into different concepts, which allows us to always have the confidence that we're not going to get stuck, because we went through a lot of challenges here in the Valley of immigration, and our main core back in the recession, our main core customer either left Arizona or was out of a job. So we had to really move in. And again, as soon as you get stuck and you can't have control over what you're doing, you really have to reach out and look for different markets. And obviously our market, which is pure to us and that's really our core customer, has a strength, but also has a lot of challenges.
Yeah. And so I think part of what we're hearing here is, the flexibility, the creativity, right? So you had a core audience, things change, you had to develop and develop other concepts in order to become resilient, in order so when one side of the economy goes down, you still have something that maintains that revenue stream. Alejandra, with a fine dining restaurant or a full service restaurant, can you tell us about your moments of getting stuck and looking for ways out of the challenge?
Well, going back to what we were initially talking about, which I think is extremely important, is the job that Roberto is doing right now, which was technology. So we did end up having to change a lot of our ways of doing business, including, getting an online platform that would connect directly to our POS system. But also for us, we've been talking a lot about networking with people that could help us for our business. Fortunately, I have a tremendous amount of following of loyal customers and clients that wanted us to succeed and didn't want us to close, and they supported us tremendously. So I think that's equally important, to know who your customer base is and to really pay attention to them. They supported us a lot, and we did exactly what Lily did. We did a lot of fundraising for frontline heroes. A lot of people wanted to give back to the community and didn't know how to help them. And so we said, donate to us, we'll cook a meal for them and we'll deliver. We delivered thousands of meals to hospitals, baskets full of snacks and drinks, and people were willing not only to support us, to support Time Matters, but in return, support the community. And we're doing it right now with World Central Kitchen in Ukraine. And so it just, it creates a bigger following for your business. And so giving back to the community, I think, is equally important for us as entrepreneurs. And I think it really helps us, be a staple in our community. So I would highly encourage people to do that as well.
And look, small businesses are over-indexed in volunteering, contributing to the community. And I think the name of your restaurant, Time Matters, right? I think it's just entirely appropriate for these opportunities or for the moment in which we're living in. And so, yes, we do know so many Latino-owned restaurants that connected with the healthcare industry. Now I'm curious, right? That in many ways that may have carried you through a critical period in the pandemic. But as we sort of exit the pandemic, I'm interested in knowing, how are those relationships continuing? Are you changing them? How are you going to make up for what perhaps are contract reductions? And so what are you doing now that the pandemic is sort of waning and perhaps those relationships may be ending or becoming smaller?
Well, I think we're lucky enough that since I am a full service restaurant and, I have a full bar and a really nice patio, people want to go out now. So people want to interact and spend time together and spend money. And so right now what we're seeing is a big influx in people, spending money. I mean, in spending more money even on regular things. And because of inflation, we had to raise our prices. I haven't seen any decline in business because of that. On the contrary, I think people want to buy better bottles of wine, or more expensive drinks and spend more money on high ticket priced items. I haven't seen it affect us. I really feel like people are willing to spend the money as long as you're willing, obviously, to deliver them a good product, right? So that's important.
And so, Omar, you're telling us earlier that, and I think Lily, perhaps you can chime in, that talent is a primary concern at this moment. We know that many restaurant workers and hospitality workers exited the industry, that conditions for many of them were not necessarily, looking back, they were not necessarily wonderful working conditions, that there's some critical changes that need to take place in the industry. Omar, can you comment on that? And I'll take Lily if she has any opinions that she would like to share.
Yes, for sure. I mean, just to start, anybody in the industry that knows that the biggest challenge is human resources and bodies that can do the work, and people that are bright and passionate in the industry that can actually help you strive. COVID for sure had a reset on everybody, and with that reset, psychologically was impacted so many people that were working in the industry and had them move out to other industries. And that alone creates a challenge. Not only for me, it's not only at the restaurant and operating or chefs or GMs, but also in my office, in my corporate office, my accounting. Things are changing, so people are doing everything remotely. My CFO, my controller, that is something that you have to adapt. And if you aren't ready for it, because it costs a lot to do so or to move in, and there's a lot of hiccups, that just creates a barrier that you have a challenge. But that's part of the operating part of it. It's just things that you can't control, where you have to come in and adjust and make sure that you're successful. You can only control your quality. You can control your cost of goods. Inflation, I think inflation is good if you adapt to it. Talent pool, you can't control it. You can't control it, and we do so much for our family, our business family. Every week or every month, we have different activities, and we try to keep them engaged. And yeah, we have a great team. I can't complain, but that has been by far, without a doubt, a challenge for us. And that's even though we were open and never closed, and we kept all our base. It's been a challenge. People just moving. People got sick. The minute they got sick, something changed psychologically. They just can't. They just want to change their lives. I guess it alerts them that they want to be out and living differently. I mean, and that's, I guess, if I have a big network that restaurant owners or business owners, and I think that's a challenge for everybody. So we just gotta adapt and make sure we move ahead. I was also caught just briefly in a construction period in a pretty big size restaurant with executive chef, sous chefs, GMs, and bartenders, and our core team that I was supposed to open in May of 2020 when COVID hit, and couldn't open till May of 2021. That was a challenge. And then this restaurant is right downtown Phoenix, which you'll be nearby when you're here. And that's another challenge, because office occupancy is not to its capacity. So we're right in the heart of Phoenix, and our office, our towers are empty. So we're those are challenges and adjustments that you have to do. Without the capital and the support that we got, either from PPP or any grant, I mean, it would have been very, very hard to just keep our head above, because it doesn't allow you to focus and operate.
And so, Lily, do you have, from the trenches, you are sort of the Latino industry representative. What are you hearing in terms of talent and other persisting challenges as we move out of the pandemic into that new phase? I think, for those that have, I think Omar, Philadelphia, we lost, 100,000 office workers. Only 80% have come back. There's still, and that really impacts, right? So Lily, what are you hearing from the trenches?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What Omar just said really is, reminiscent of a lot of the situations that I hear on a daily basis. And so, for example, the labor force is, right now it's critical. We've seen, XYZ reasons why people really haven't gone back to work. Quality of the work-life balance that they're looking for is something that we hear about a lot. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the big challenges right now. And I see people doing all kinds of stuff, from offering like insurance for your pets, if you work there, flexible, all kinds of perks that people are getting. And then again, because those occupancy rates have gone down in the metropolitan areas, we have seen that workers are working remote, but there's also, other opportunities there that, again, being very flexible. Now I'm going to say something that I heard from Omar and Alejandra both, and Maria, right? About going out and, expanding your networks. I absolutely agree with that, and saying go out and expand your networks. However, I have seen where some folks are not putting those systems into place prior to going out to the network. So it's sort of like, get your business in order. And that's one of the things that and I'm not pushing by any means us, but go to your chamber, go to school, your local community, whatever you need to do to get educated on putting a successful system into place in your business, and then going out and doing the networking. That's what I would recommend, because I see a lot of folks who are out there, but then they're letting their businesses slide, and kind of like relying on grants and money from the government, and that's going to run out. You really need to have that strong business plan already set, and perhaps, again, like some of the folks here, when you have that really strong plan, that's going to make you much more attractive to the venture capitalists, to people who want to invest in you, the banks. It sounds like we have some people here who, although they've done different things, they've all made themselves very attractive to venture capital, the bankers, and really done things to grow their business. So I'm so excited to hear that. So I say, one of the big tips that I have for a small business owner, whether you own 1 or 10 restaurants or more, that to really make sure that you are putting together a business plan. You guys would be surprised how many people I talk to that they don't know how to calculate their profit margin. They don't even know, like I see people and I'm like, you're actually paying people to eat at your restaurant because you don't know the cost of your food. You don't know how to calculate that profit margin and labor costs, everything. So I say educate yourself on all those things, because again, the person that said it, we're here to run a business, not to make a place to hang out with your friends. Like that's great too. Social enterprise, that's great. People are doing businesses for the social good, amazing. But we also have to have a solid foundation. So I would say make your foundations very solid prior to going out, but those connections that you make are obviously vital as well.
Absolutely. And I have a friend that says, when you build a house, you do not build it from the second floor up. You first have to have a foundation, right? So there's some things that must happen in order, because if you don't do them, eventually when your business grows, it will come back to haunt you, right? So if your business is not properly formed legal entity, if you don't put it together initially correctly, when you grow and you want make certain decisions and certain moves, that will come back to bite you. And then you have to pay a lot of money to an accountant and a tax attorney to like turn things around and readjust, right?
And I say, not for anyone not to be embarrassed if you're in that place. I will put it out there. I started a business with $200,000 cash. I did not talk to banks. I didn't talk to tax people. I didn't talk to anyone because I knew that I was going to make that into a 7-figure, money-making business. Well, it did not happen. And there were so many pitfalls and mistakes that I made. And that's why I recommend talking to the professionals, your bankers, your tax folks, your real estate people, everybody. Get yourself educated, and it's helping all of us. I feel like, hey, I'm a educated Latina, and all these things. And believe me, I made all of the mistakes. So that's why we're here, and we're saying reach out to folks. Call Roberto, call your chamber. We're here to help.
So on that note, and I will ask Roberto about Stanford, but you have your local chambers of commerce. Many of them have education programs. You have Lily that has a boot camp. You have
certification program.
A certification program. You have Goldman Sachs 10,000, which works with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber. You can find it probably in your local area. You have the small business development centers, and they provide technical assistance. So again, entrepreneurship is not a do-it-yourself business. It is really, you need a whole group of people around you. Ask any millionaire, billionaire, that's the way they did it. But even if that's not your goal, right? Even if your goal is to have enough income so that you can have a retirement account, so you can put your children through college, you still need a proper accounting system. You still need technology, because ultimately technology helps you lower your cost of doing business, increasing your margins. And you, at the very least, you should know what systems do more for you. Different banks and different systems charge different transaction costs that can really make a difference in your. So I think there's just a lot that experts and people around you and organizations around you can help you sort of make decisions. And Roberto, you're a big advocate of education. You are a Stanford Latino L-band graduate. Can you tell us a little bit about the role that education has played in your success as an entrepreneur?
Yes, and Jennifer, I'll be remiss if I didn't include Alejandra Chavez as cohort 10, was it? 9?
12.
12, there you go.
There's like 1,000 graduates or alumni in the program.
880, we're going to reach 1,000 in this next cohort, Jennifer. So we're very excited about that program. It's called the Latino Business Action Network, hosted in the Stanford School of Business. I invite every and all who are part of this conversation today to join us, apply to the program, be part of our familia, as Alejandra and I would like to say. Absolutely love that program. But I want to go back and touch a little bit of what Lily was saying around understanding where your business is at. I love Omar and I love Lorena and being able to work on your business, not in your business. I love that idea, but it's because they have already set down the foundation. And so what you have to do is go through this triage experience, which is what we saw. We saw businesses from across the gamut, anywhere from $250,000 to $10 million. The pandemic hit, and now we have to stabilize the patient, if you will. And so one of the things we saw is that there's a lot of low-hanging tools that you can use just to get started, to get online, like business listings. You saw a lot of businesses start adding their menus, talking about delivery systems, creating makeshift drop shipping. You saw other businesses bring on operational software that allowed them to understand what kind of supply chain they need to have, what kind of inventory they need to have to sustain themselves. The beauty of this is that we as a community can come in size and put pressure on some of these partners and say, hey, we want you to waive that transaction fee. And that's the technology play that we're all kind of dancing around. We could come in together and say, we want you to waive that 2 or 3% or 5% fee, because our community, you're saying you're vouching for our community, you want to be part of that community, you support our community, show us with your pocketbook. And that's one way you could bring those solutions to those individuals who are just getting to the level of Omar, just getting to the level of Lorena, of Alejandra, and get them up and get them scaling so they could grow and fluster and then build up our communities, because we have to live where we stand. And then once you get there, then we could start thinking about how do we scale now? How do we go from 500,000 to 1 million, 1 million to 1 million plus? And that's when the Stanford Business Program steps in and says, hey, welcome to the club. Let's get you to 100 million. Or let's get you to 25 million. And we're going to go through this programming and match you with a mentor that allows you to understand the different operational supply chain capital acquisition tools available to you that you might have not known because you didn't have that educational network. That's the beauty of that network. And then the second piece, which I think is the most priceless piece, is having a weekend with Alejandra, spending time with Alejandra, hearing her story. We're both from Chihuahua. We're very proud of that fact, Parral. And then hearing that I want to work with you. ¿Por qué no? She had an award speech during this event, and it's food for the soul. Disculpen.
¿Qué te cuesta?
¿Qué te cuesta, perdón? ¿Qué te cuesta ayudar a tu compañía? ¿Qué te cuesta? It doesn't cost you a dime to work with one another and each other. It's something that she was taught by her family, by her grandfather, and it's something very beautiful. And that's how we bring together our social capital. We leverage our network to say, hey, I got a partnership with the airport. I want to bring you in and become a diverse supplier as well. And that's how we build generational wealth within our communities. And that's what I want to leave as a message to everyone here, as a challenge, to make sure that we work with one another. I love working with Lily. We just had an event a couple of weeks ago that touched on the tech play, but more importantly on the talent acquisition play. How do we bring talent for free to you as a restaurant owner that needs it right now? Let's figure out ways that you don't have to pay for this, because we know you just went through a very, very tough time. I'll leave you guys with this. Ramiro, the CEO of the USHCC, had a speech yesterday and today. He says, when you're going through hell, what did Winston Churchill say? Keep going. So we went through hell, we're keep going. Now we're on the other side. It's time to help our community advance and expand.
You know, I think you and Church, Winston Churchill, I think you're like getting there, getting there. So I think you said something really important, and it's German. And I think Alejandra, he credited you, ¿qué te cuesta? Helping each other. I think we know that entrepreneurship can be a very, very lonely place, right? You have, I say that there's a level of insanity required to start a business against all odds, right? There's a level of insanity, but that makes you continue going, even if you're going through hell. But it's lonely, right? Are you necessarily going to go to your employees and say things are not going well, and they're going to all, jump ship because they're afraid that there's no stability there. You're not only are you maintaining yourself as you and your family as a business owner, but you have families that depend on you and your business succeeding, right? So do you tell your spouse? Who do you tell? But who you can tell? You can come together and you can tell other business owners. They have gone through what you're going through. They can be your cheerleaders. So there is nothing that I can say that I think is more important than we as Latinos, you as Latino entrepreneurs, getting together, belonging to an association, belonging to a chamber of commerce, because it really matters when we can just come together as a unit, as a voice. You will develop partnerships by just meeting people. You develop collaborations. You can develop, opportunities to grow your business that way, right? So it's really, really important that we really are much more intentional about coming together as a group. So we have just not too long to go, but one of the things that I'm interested is Alejandra, Lorena, Omar, Alejandra, what is next for you? What's next for Time Matters? I really want to hear, because I want you, the folks in the audience to see themselves in you, be inspired by your journey. So what is next for Time Matters?
Thank you, Jennifer. I just want to go back and underline real quickly that we were talking about how important that accounting is and all of those resources. And all of those resources that we're talking about are free. You know, the chamber can help you, even your food vendor. I have a very strong relationship with mine, and they have also been very instrumental. But the cost of not getting all of that in order is high. So it is going to cost you time to, you know, because you do have to put time and effort into figuring out, you know, a teaspoon of salt, how much the cost of that is, you know, in all of your recipes. But it is very much worth it in the end, because it is important to streamline your business and have a structure in order for it to succeed, regardless of the changes in employees that you have, which, like Omar mentioned, is high in this industry. But you know, I feel completely energized about the future. I'm very excited. I have a few plans that maybe I don't want to come out and say right now, but I am working diligently at the time for you know, taking advantage of those certifications that I have. And so, you know, I just want to extend an invitation to anybody that's joining us today, that if I can help them in any way, I'd be more than happy to do so. So
Great.
please reach
And
out to me.
Lorena, with venture capital and going for another round, what is next for you?
For me, is continuing listening to my business and understand when it's ready to grow. And right now, Maria Empanada is ready to grow. So we are opening in the next 6 months, 3 more locations. Next year, 4, and one in the airport. We just opened a commissary, a production facility where we are making everything from there and expanding and distributing to our own places. And the most important part here is understand exactly what Lily say. It needs to be when you are ready. So sometimes you have bad parts. We needed to shut down 2 locations for COVID time, but those were very smart decisions. So even that my heart didn't like it, but I listened to my business, and that's exactly what they wanted. So right now it's ready for growth with venture capital, of course.
And Omar, what is next to you? Because next for you, we're going to be there. I'm sure we'll meet you in Phoenix. So what can we expect in the next 2-3 years from you?
Oh, I guess for me, it's always been looking ahead and look and see how we can grow and expand. And that's what we're doing right now. But again, the challenges and the timing when you grow is crucial. Like you can grow, and even with venture capital or not, you know, it's you gotta time it, because you know there's a lot of challenges. I could be opening up another restaurant right now, but I choose not to, because we have to make sure that we are operating to 100% efficiency, and that we have the full team in place. And we also have a commissary, so we have a production center, and then other concepts. So I'm always looking for other concepts. We will open another restaurant by the end of the year, and it's a completely new concept. But again, it's in timing. When do you want to grow, and where you want to grow? And you know, if like Lorena said, you know, venture capital does motivate you and pushes you to grow and helps you because not only you're getting the capital, but you're getting the mentoring. That's great, and it's a great market. Obviously, Colorado's a great market, in Denver, as is Arizona. So yeah, keep growing. But before we grow, I always like to. I'm a huge believer of what you said, Lily, and the foundation. I think that's the one thing we've done well, is set a foundation. Open, and that's because we treat them right, and obviously that's huge. But just be cautious, you know, as an entrepreneur, you get an opportunity to make a decision that could really benefit you, or it could really affect you. So, you know, always looking to grow, though.
Well, and there's nothing you cannot recover from, right? I mean, we've seen, you know, entrepreneurs recover from all sorts of catastrophic events. So just because you had to close or something, a side of your venture didn't work, doesn't mean that you cannot recover and come back from that point. So we are almost at time, but I want to open the floor for any questions. If you can write them in the chat, we'll be able to answer them, and I'll make sure that we get them to the panelists. Roberto, you are a technology entrepreneur. You are very involved in the community. You have a fantastic mission of helping business owners embrace technology and move forward. You're also a student, right, of entrepreneurship. What is next for you in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I'll do next 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
Because 3 to 5 years, I don't know what happens yesterday, let alone
Look,
3 to 5.
you know,
But
3 to 5 months works for us too.
Really, what I'm focusing on in the immediate future is to create programming for our restaurant owners. I really want to get together with my tech partners, create some programming that we could take to the national market at scale, learn from Omar, learn from Lorena, learn from Alejandra, provide feedback from you guys, because you guys were in the trenches during the worst time in our generation. Learn what got you guys to be able to sustain that and then grow, and then use those learnings to implement for the communities that haven't heard of us, haven't touched us, haven't reached us. That's what my short-term goal is. I'm going to work very diligently to make sure we are able to do that. And then medium to long-term is to create a program that's adopted across the country where we're able to track the success of these type of programs. We already have proprietary technology right now that we're working with the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles. I am from Los Angeles, so that's my hometown. There's a very popular saying, live where you stand. And that's what I'm trying to do. I live where I stand, and then we'll expand it across the country. But tracking the success of programming is not just cutting a check to organizations, to nonprofits, to entities, but saying this check comes with requirement to show impact on our community. It's super important to hold our officials and our donors accountable and make sure that when the programs are implemented, those are actually moving the needle for that people like Alejandra, Omar, and Lorena can keep growing. So those are my short to long-term goals. Thank you, Jennifer, for letting me to present.
Sure. And of course, from our industry representative, Lily, what can restaurant owners and those in the food industry expect and look forward from your organization?
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for, inviting me to the panel. I think, again, also being from LA, maybe it's because we're from LA, we're going to give the short-term goals.
Now, as a business development person, I really want to see beyond the 3 and 5 months. I know we're, you get the COVID because things are changing. But if I ask this question next year, I really want to see a 3-year plan, right? Okay.
Yeah, no, we're with the Latino Restaurant Association, we continue to expand our programming. What we did during COVID, and we found we were just trying to do too many things. So right now we're focusing on our core programming. So that core programming, which is the boot camp, our Dine Latino that Jennifer so generously helped us establish here in LA, our boot camps and our educational series, partnerships with organizations such as Braven and other organizations around the nation, providing resources for restaurants. So those just really building on that so that restaurant owners can come to us. We can help working with chambers, working with all the local chambers. So we don't want to be just the entity outside of that. We want to work with the local chambers. So we're already making those connections around the country to make sure that we're also a resource for the chambers. And so I see that expanding across the country. We're opening up an office in Houston in a few weeks. So we'll be in Texas. So we're really, really excited about that. And I see that really happening in the next 2 to 3 years as far as what we're doing, but we're here for folks. We never turn anyone away. And we try to help. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. If I can't help, I turn to partners such as Roberto. I mean, we have a lot of people that we can reach out to. So I welcome anyone who wants to connect with me to do so, please. We're here to help. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. So I think one of the things in parting that number one, I want to thank all of you for taking the time. Your stories are a great source of inspiration. I think one of the things that our attendees and others in this industry can take away is Omar, Alejandra, and Roberto, all of you have mentioned, your operations are very important. Having a strong foundation, your accounting systems, your legal formation, your staffing, it is really critical if you are to grow or really to be a profitable business, even if you don't seek to grow to extraordinary levels, right? We've heard about relationships. We've heard about Omar having a strong banking relationship. We heard about Lorena having a strong, relationship with a venture capital that serves as a mentor, right? Alejandra, you mentioned equally the importance of education, the importance of really stepping away from your business, taking time to think strategically about the decisions you need to make. Successful businesses need to be profitable, scalable. They need to, even if you don't scale, there's some principles and foundations that must be present if you are to have a long-term enterprise. And this is what the chambers of commerce are here for. And now we know you are very busy, but from time to time, a chamber of commerce or the restaurant association might send a survey or might knock on your door, or might send you an email and says, we need you to engage and we need you to participate. And it may be outside of your comfort zone, but oftentimes in order to advocate for you, we need to show numbers. And so as a chamber president, that's one of the things that I think business owners didn't sign up for, but we need you to help us with that. So Lorena, Roberto, Omar, Lily, Alejandra, we may be calling on you. You are great representatives of what Latino entrepreneurship is all about. We wish you the greatest of success. And I hope that we can all visit with Omar later this fall when we are in Phoenix. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Adios.
Everyone.
Thank you. Look forward to see everybody over here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Have a good day.